Hello everybody, Dark Skeleton here, and today we are going to answer the question, what is an RPG? Question mark. Well, at the very basic level, RPG stands for role-playing game. Let's actually type that out. Role-playing game. And there is a lot of things that goes into the meaning here, and we'll talk about that individually. Let's start with the role part. So, role. Who are you taking the role of in a RPG? Usually, it's a character, which often being human because we're all human, so that's the easiest kind of character to get in the mindset of. If you think of plays or that kind of thing, playing a role-playing game is sort of like being in a play because you have a role to be inside of that play. And although that role, that character that you're getting into, might not be you. It might be you with a much cooler hairstyle. Yeah, let's give him some ears here. It might not even be human here. I mean, maybe that guy is a monkey or something like that. It can actually be more than just human. You could be a dog as well. The best art ever here. Woo. Man, those 6th grade art classes really paying off. Looks more like a Siamese cat to me. But really, it doesn't matter who you're playing. The point is that you are playing a character inside of a larger story. So in this story, things are going to happen as they tend to. If you've ever read a book, then you know stories tend to progress. They have chapters. Now, a RPG may not be laid out in chapters, but they're definitely going to have a timeline, a beginning, a middle, and an end. And how this tends to work is you have some kind of hero at the beginning, or sometimes even an anti-hero, and by the end, he becomes a super badass. He's got, like, swords, he's saved the princess, all that kind of stuff, probably involves a bed of some kind, you know what I'm getting at. And at the climax, usually happens a little bit before the end, but well after the middle point, he's killed a scary dragon. So, fire breath. Holy crap, my art is bad. Super mad. But unfortunately, the dragon gets slain. And yeah, what we would normally call these dragons inside of an RPG is a boss character. Now, bosses exist in other kinds of games too, but a boss in an RPG is the ultimate goal you're trying to accomplish. The dude you need to go ahead and defeat. And you could also say, hey, that's like an action platformer. Action platformers being like Mario. So what really sets RPG different from other games that just happen to have a storyline? Well, normally it is a bucket load of statistics. So if you've ever heard of Dungeons and Dragons or looked at a character sheet in a game similar to this, you'll probably notice a lot of statistics on the sheet. Now what these statistics do, like hit points, or in other words, how difficult a character is to defeat, how much damage can they sustain before they are defeated. Statistics like that help determine how the game plays out. And this applies to both PC RPGs or video game RPGs and also pen and paper RPGs as well. Yes, there are RPGs where you can play with dice, which includes 6-sided dice, 4-sided dice, 12-sided dice. There's even 100-sided dice. And yes, you can really get a 100-sided die. So with your pencil and your paper and a lot of imagination, you can go on epic quests. But what's occurring in those games like D&D is you're really playing out a character using these statistics on the sheet. And as the game progresses, your character gets stronger. So you think of any story, like let's say a Disney movie, Tangled, something like that. The character might start off as like a bum, as an average thief at the beginning. But by the end of the movie, as I mentioned before, they get new equipment, they save the princess, they elevate themselves in status. That's the nature of standard storytelling. So your stats might go up. So you might not have 40 HP at the end. You might have 60. Your character's physical strength might go up from an arbitrary number like 4 to 6, meaning that they can swing a sword harder, or they can pick up more stuff, or maybe they're more intelligent. And that's the leveling up process of an RPG. Almost every RPG has something like this, where characters just get stronger over the course of a game, and how their stats or their character strengths are determined are basically by the stats on their sheet. A few game mechanics I haven't quite mentioned yet. Experience points are one of the most core aspects of an RPG. How characters generally increase their stats in these games is they acquire experience points over the course of their career. They slay a monster, they get experience points. They complete a quest, they get experience points. And experience points represent how the character basically gains knowledge and skills over the course of a game. And then you can spend those experience points, depending on the system, on different skills and abilities, which can include magical fireballs. They can also get sword skills, the ability to parry an enemy's attack. And sometimes these skills can just be knowledge-based, so a character grows by knowing more stuff. And then by knowing more stuff, they're able to complete different kinds of challenges. Another thing worth mentioning, in the majority of RPGs out there, a hero, your main character, doesn't do everything alone. In human history, very few men or even women have achieved amazing feats without the help of others. It's just not the human experience. So what characters in RPGs tend to do is cooperate as what's called a party, which is where you get yourself, your buddies, and maybe your buddies' buddies, and you go form a group that achieves the end goal, such as throwing a ring into Mount Doom. And I keep referencing Mount Doom because Lord of the Rings is the atypical basis for many RPGs. As my understanding goes, Dungeons & Dragons was heavily influenced by J.R.R. Tolkien's Lord of the Rings and Hobbit series. Before we wrap things up about what an RPG is here, though, I want to point out that not every RPG is about the fantasy genre. You can easily have an RPG that takes place in space. You can have one that involves computer science or hacking. And you could even have a character that's just a freaking fish, and the fish may grow in stats, it's fine. Whatever kind of character you want to have created in an RPG, or whatever the game designers want, is totally fair game. As long as the character basically progresses over the storyline, grows in statistics, and one of the more key things is leveling up with that experience points, then you've got an RPG on your hands. So I've been Dark Skeleton, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in my future videos.